it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is really how to kind of get through a devaluation stage with someone who might be malignant narcissist, psychopathic. Either way, whatever it is, they are just manipulative. They're getting into sort of that pulling your strings, trying to provoke you, bringing out the worst. How do you handle it? And really, I think the question is, how do you move through it gracefully? So I think it's a great viewer question, and we're picking up where the previous video left off. I'm not sure what happened. The software just went into some sort of default, and I'm not sure. So these things happen. So anyway, we're picking back up where we left off. And that's to understand really the cause has created the effect and the manipulation, and how do you stop it? Not just cope, not put up, not suffer through, but when you're in a relationship with someone who is really always trying to, do you wrong, do you dirty, catch you off guard, and has got you in a situation where it's really sort of got you on the bad side. They're on your bad side. They are causing unhappiness. They, should know better. They should be more emotionally savvy. They should be more emotionally intelligent. Their behavior should not cause this attachment disorder, which oftentimes people with personality disorders, whatever, people with issues, they have attachment problems, and meaning that they're not, they're not easy to get along with. They're always, especially when you get into people who are kind of pathologically self-centered, meaning it is always about them, their needs, what they want, their perspective, their opinion, their thing, their. I mean, eventually, you can be codependent around these people and kind of survive a relationship, meaning get through it with, you're getting bludgeoned emotionally by these people through looks. And I love this viewer statement, looks that are designed especially for you, tailor-made, manipulations, the look that is just of disappointment, seething anger, disapproval, the cold shoulder, the rage outbursts. You're in a public restaurant and you're like, why are you doing this in the restaurant? Why are you doing this at the pharmacy? Like, you need to get a chill pill. You need to calm down. This is unsavory. And so, manipulation is all about trying to create an outcome for another person where they're really in a disempowered state. If you ask me, if I really want to make it really workable and have a flow with you, because I feel that if you can understand the flow of manipulation, you get what it is, therefore you will not be subject to it and you will not tolerate it. The problem comes when people have put up with it for too long, and at first it was kind of like, well, I can kind of, let things go, and I don't always have to be in control. I can put this person in the driver's seat, out of the name of love, or this is all that I know. This is how I know how to behave. I've been conditioned by the past. I've learned to be this way from the past. I've learned to be this way from my culture. I've learned to be this way from my religion. I've learned to be this way from my neighborhood. So it can go way, 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 way back where you learned sort of, to, not only to cope with, people who are manipulative, but these might be strong players in your life, your life journey. These might be real pillars, which are really instrumental to helping you learn about relationships and life. I mean, this is big picture stuff. This is really what it's all about when it comes to being happy and getting through that devaluation stage, where, you're feeling disempowered and you're coming to an awareness that I can't put up with this. I can't be like this anymore. And notice how I said be, in other words, this sort of, created ego, I would say relationship created ego or relation created distress, is to understand that it's in its own entity. So it's really important, I would say, getting back to it is to kind of look at the alchemization of it and realize that your personal power and your personal truth is what needs to live. It needs to breathe. It needs to be uncorked. And when you're around manipulators, they're trying to create an outcome for you. You're not allowed to come to the conclusion itself. It's all about the drama that they're setting forth, and they want you to get swept up in it. And then, if you look back in the beginning, it might be very pleasurable to be swept up in this drama. It gives you something to do. It gives you a focus. It's kind of a distraction oftentimes from who you were before. My life was boring. I was a nobody. I was a this. I was a that. This became a route for me to be somebody. This, as Dr. Craig Malkin says, an echoist. In other words, where it's really sort of empties you out when you're with a manipulator. You have to always be on, the passenger side. You have to be on the supply side. And your own needs, values are kind of like grazed over. They're dismissed. These people can be very dismissive and not, take accountability as a positive soundboard for your feelings, needs, perspective, vision, strength, your life purpose, and your definiteness of purpose. What you need. There's a lot of back scratching that you're giving to them, but what are you getting yourself? What are you receiving? So if you've been in this, oftentimes it becomes very difficult for people to receive. If you've been in a manipulative relationship, you're always about the energy going out. But it's time when you kind of really get the cornerstone of healing, it's to really get into your subconscious mind and allow yourself to be in and be within your body and non-reactive, and practice this state where you're just at peace. You're at one. Everything is okay. You are here and all is well. Your feet are here. Your focus is here. Your heart is here. You are congruent. You are centered. You are in your divine essence. You're allowed just to be. And then you kind of allow things to come and go. Oh, my stomach is gurgling. It's too quiet, or it's too loud, or, you might hear some different things that you want to do. But when you're in this still state and not being reactive, you can kind of get to your center and begin to have dialogue and conversation with this centered of being, this peace, just taking a deep breath. Just getting some oxygen really going, taking a little bit of willpower into your subconscious and allowing yourself to be there, and being able to be in a responsive state but not reactive. And manipulation is all about sort of diverting you and distracting you from your B state, what I would call also your flow state, where your internal dialogue becomes negative and inauthentic and not of your own. So you're always trying to be codependent and not see things in your terms or express things in your terms, because you always have to adulterate and adjust and modify to this person, to avoid a catastrophe, to avoid unhappiness, their unhappiness, namely, while you sacrifice yours. And so, it's really important that you understand that manipulation is all about trying to create an outcome for you without allowing you to have that outcome for yourself. For you to be able to, give your feedback, give your feelings, express your needs. And when you do that, and then not tolerate mistreatment or abuse, really, you're going to talk to me. So, in other words, I think the viewer is asking, like, what are some things that you can say, do, and feel? Namely, you have to feel it first. So we need to get really super basic. Even though it seems so basic, it's oftentimes that feel state that people do not possess, that internal feel state, valuation state, which allows them to be corrupted, their self-esteem to be corrupted, to be corroded, to be hurt, to be affected, to be dampened, to be weakened, to be unlively, to not be allowed to live. It becomes like cramping your style. But for a really severe amount of time. And this is not good, you know, when you kind of live this illusion, because manipulation is really about buying the narcissist or the psychopath's illusion. You might say, you know, they take up such a big part of my life, or I don't know what I would do without them, so I'm just going to suffer on, even though this devaluation is taking place. Well, if you're thinking that, then there's part of you that is agreeing to being ground down, to being subjected to this. In other words, I don't deserve. You know, I am not enough. I am unlovable, unattractive, or I'm afraid, you know. So it's this fear of failure with, you know, if you don't abide by this manipulation. So I'm really breaking it down into the fine shards, because I think it's important that you understand that there's a feel state that you need to get to come into your own body, to come into your own essence, to come into your own congruency. Meaning, what I need is what I'm getting. What I'm falling in love with, whether it's your job, life, you know, you're falling back in love with life, you're falling back in love with a lover, you know, you're falling in love. That titillating, happy feeling, you know, is really, you need to fall in love, not with yourself, but with your essence. To fall in love with that essential being, to fall in love with that infinite love that doesn't break, you know, it doesn't, you know, things might happen, but you take it in stride. And it's that awareness, that sharpness of perception that goes, you know, oops, there is mistreatment here. And that then stops it in its tracks, so it doesn't prolong and linger and seep into the rest of your hour, day, whatever it is. So, you know, what are some good, so number one is, I would say, it's a feel state. You have to feel enough. You have to know that you are whole and complete. You are not missing anything. You've got 10 toes, 10 fingers, your eyes are working, your ears are working, your taste buds, your senses. These are where you need to begin and to prime the subconscious and allow yourself to feel and be. So, and then a lot of this then evolves into meditation, or just allowing yourself to be at peace and knowing what that feel-good feeling feels like when it's about in your own essence, in your own element. So manipulation is like trying to take a fish out of water and telling them you're still in the water, you know, this is okay, you can make it, and the fish is like struggling and is trying to like deal with this manipulation until they go, aha, I've got you. And you're being sort of played by a manipulator. So it's all about, really, in my mind, sort of the deception that they're influencing you without you allowing yourself to perceive. It's like the narcissist is having the happiness for you and robbing you of that experience. You know, they're kind of in control of giving it and taking it away, when you need to be on the path and in the flow and being able to see what you see, feel what you feel, get excited about what's true and real for you, the good life, versus having the illusion, being manipulated, living the lie instead of living the dream, you know, living the reality rather than living the illusion, actually getting up and doing it. So the radical change is coming into that B state, so you can then be perceptive and aware of what is not right and call it out in its tracks. Meaning, you just said that to me, I don't play that. Out. You know, I'm done. Giving an ultimatum in that moment, in the moment when it arises, as when you immediately deal with it. So being able to be, but you have to be perceptive. It's kind of like if you're a hunter, you know, you have to have keen awareness. You might sit in a deer stand or whatever the hunters do. They are camouflaged, you know, they're very quiet. You know, their senses are honed in and sharpened. But I mean, so this is, and I'm not saying that you're becoming a hunter, but it's that still kind of quiet sort of edge on awareness state that you need to be in to be aware and alert, and then assertive. aware, alert, assertive, AAA, aware, alert, assertive. And then being able to speak, in other words, having your perception go down to your heart, and then the self-protection comes up, which a lot of people don't have practice with. A lot of people don't have this in their repertoire or their toolkit. So when they get this all of a sudden strange treatment, they're just like a deer in a headlight, and they can't speak. They can't assert themselves. They can't, they can't deal with it. They're just allowing it to linger. In other words, and then they fall into, the control and manipulation of this person, which oftentimes is to take advantage of, just plain and simple, taking advantage of somebody, thinking that they can talk to somebody in a negative, derogatory way and then get their dinner. Talk to somebody in a negative, derogatory way and say, I'm going to pay your bills, and then, or talk to them in a negative, derogatory way and then expect them to have intimacy. Expect them to just put on a happy face after they've been treated this way. In other words, like, yes, you know better. Well, the key to unhooking that is to say, you don't know better, I know better. I know better. And so being able to assert that, and we're going to go through a template of affirmations where you really begin to trust yourself, and stop living in denial and doubt, and to really trust yourself. It's really about that internal flame that really needs to be the challenge. So you are the challenge and not the narcissist. It's all about you embracing that internal flame, that little purple flame or yellow flame, whatever it is, your passion for what you truly want, and stop the excuses. And so once you get into that physiology, in a few terms, you can handle manipulation.